Okay, so hi, Chad and Sarah. I've got Chad and Sarah Phillip with me. And the reason I'm asking them a few questions is because they haven't been in the position many of us have. They've been able to, or they've had to work during this time. Chad being a farmer producing food, and Sarah being a teacher. So let me find out from them what their lives have been like during this time. So, Chad, as a farmer, you've been working all out. In fact, maybe a little bit harder than normal. Am I right when I say that?
Yeah, we have been busier. Um, so,
Now, tell me, during this time that we live in with the threat of the coronavirus, how challenging were the changes you needed to make in your work environment to comply with the lockdown regulations?
so we basically did three things. One was instituting everyone must wear a mask, um, sanitizing, especially in areas where people are going to be in close proximity, hand sanitizing before climbing onto the bus and then climbing off the bus again, and as, as well as changing up our transport, the way in which we transport people. According to government regulation, you need to have a space between you and the person seated next to you. So we had to bring in another bus there, and then just also fumigating those buses as they arrive on the farm before they go and take the people back home again. And yeah, you asked about the way or the challenge in getting those things in place. I think at the beginning, it was a bit of protocol from our side as well, which led to people being a bit relaxed about the enforcement of the rules. But as fear sort of crept into the community, people were doing it more as a lifestyle or a actual change in their behavior rather than just something done as window dressing.
Okay, so from that, it sounds like you've been fairly successful in getting your employees to comply.
Yeah, I would say the large majority. Um, I think it's a similar scenario to what you might see in a shop. You always have the people who feel they don't need to wear the mask, or have they don't just accept the hand sanitizer, um, and that is a problem to get everyone to to be acting in the same manner to protect each other. But the large majority definitely are following protocol now.
Okay, that's great. Now, just a last question before I go to Sarah. During this, you spoke just now about as fear has crept in. Would you say that in general amongst your employees that there has been some fear that's crept in or stress levels? And if so, has that had an impact on the interpersonal relationships amongst your people? But before you answer that, just one more. Um, just how many people do you have coming into the farm daily? And then the other questions.
Yeah. So there are two farms. So our side, we have just under 100 people every day coming to work. And on the other side, we have about 50 people. Um, yeah, so I, I think in the beginning, there were a lot of mixed messages going around, and people could sort of dismiss that and therefore not fear. But as more messages more frequently circulated, I think people began to have a deeper sense of fear as to their livelihoods, their movements, and the uncertainty was a massive contributor. We were getting lots of, or we still are getting lots of mixed messages from government, from leadership, which change on a daily basis. So I think for the first time, we really felt on the farm that we couldn't give any straight answers as to how will you get to the shops, how will you organize transport, will you be able to buy these sorts of necessary groceries, will they be in stock? And I think the uncertainty there led to sort of a growing sense of stress and anxiety within the staff, which I think, going on to the follow-up question on that is the workplace and the relationships. I think in the beginning, with all of the messages coming through from not only from government, but obviously from all of the other companies that were having to restructure and change the way in which they do things. Both my dad and I were quite overwhelmed with the amount of paperwork and administration that needs to take place. So we sort of sat down and divided and conquered. He was the corona expert and I would carry on with farming. So I think starting there, we just tried to get the messages as clear as possible so as not to create confusion. And I think that has calmed people down a lot, that they can ask one person and one person will get back to them with an answer, and rather than asking 10 people and 10 people coming back with different answers.
Okay, thank you. So you talk about mixed messages. I heard one yesterday that someone phoned a local police station to ask, can I go now under the level 4, can I go and visit my mother in Oudtshoorn? And the answer was, yes, go and visit your mother. I said, what? You know, this is the police and they don't know the regulations. But anyway, so it's a problem. Yeah, the mixed message. Yeah. Okay, Sarah, so you're a teacher, and so during this time you were supposed to have a holiday, which totally changed because teaching had to go on. So you didn't face your students at all. You had other challenges, and that is getting them to, from their side, probably go online. I don't know. Is that a challenge? How's it been? Or what other challenges have you had?
Well, I think getting the kids to go online is probably not the problem. A lot of them are TikToking more than they realize. So I think they're complaining that they don't have data, but they just don't know where it's going right now.
Okay.
So it's been interesting getting the work across to them. I've got most of their numbers. I think there are 1 or 2 of them in each grade that don't have WhatsApp, which is what I'm using at the moment. I'm trying to keep it as low data as possible because even though some of them are TikToking, there are others of them who don't have data at all. And so I just send a simple message with a few activities. And the other day, I just asked them to do a documentary of what their lives are looking like and asked them to do all sorts of Englishy things in the meantime. So they had to watch their sentence structure and the way that they strung their sentences together to make it more compelling. So they're doing a lot of English things, but then I don't necessarily expect them to send me the videos and the voice notes and stuff. So, or the pictures, just to show me that they are doing their work. So yeah, I think I'm trying to get across to all of them, and I think a lot of my messages are going through, but I think about 60% of them are actually responding in some way. I think they are very much enjoying not hearing my voice every day.
Okay. So, and especially the matrics, do you get different types of stress levels than you would normally have gotten this time of the year?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think my matrics miss me. Yeah, it's been devastating for me because it's a lovely bunch of kids. All of my kids are lovely, but these ones in particular I have a great relationship with. So it's hard for me to see that they're not getting my full enthusiasm and teaching ability at this stage. So I've given them all the possible notes that I can. I felt that I prepared them at the beginning of the year to have everything that I could offer. So at least they've got all the stuff in front of them, and I think a lot of them are working through it. But yeah, it's just different when you're in a classroom and you can actually engage with them. So yeah, it's the solidifying of the information isn't quite where it should be, unfortunately. So I've done all I can, and I record myself on Zoom giving explanations. But once again, I'm not sure if any of them, or I'm not sure if most of them have the data to be able to watch that. So yeah, it's been tough for all of us. I think even the ones who weren't enjoying work so much before are starting to realize that the pressure is a huge reality now.
So personally for you, the interaction that you've had with students, are you satisfied, or does it still does it remain a frustration in not being able to do as you would like to have the job done?
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Is that I feel like I'm doing my job, so I'm sending them stuff virtually every day, and then some days things go over 2 days. So I'm doing my job, but at the same time I'm not doing my job because a lot of them can't see me doing my job. So yeah, it's a little frustrating to think that you are doing your best, but at the same time you can't do everything. And yeah, that's been sad for me because I quite enjoy teaching. So yeah, I still want to be able to give the kids my best, and I'm not able to at this stage.
Sure. Okay. So tell me, another thing that's changed in your setup is the fact that normally you would live in your own place in the village, but now because of Chad having to be on the farm, well, not just the two of you, but it's parents or in-laws, and also Chad's sister and husband, and all in the same house. How has that been?
That's been actually very interesting. So I think it's been an opportunity to get to know everyone a little better because Chad and I are quite busy during the week. And thankfully, the family are really lovely people. So it hasn't been dramatic and challenging, really. And I'm being fed. So that's been amazing that I haven't really done too much cooking. So I'm very grateful for the excellent chefs in the house. Yeah, so it's been very fascinating for me to watch the dynamics in their family and to see how they are at more close range. A lot of the time we just see each other for birthdays or anniversaries and stuff. So yeah, it's been good. But I mentioned to Chad yesterday that I kind of feel like a child again. We came back to the apartment yesterday just to touch up on things and get the plants and stuff happy. And so I'm like, whoa, I'm an independent adult.
Yeah. Well, I must say that after 5 weeks, or a little more than 5 weeks, of you guys all being sequestered together with other family members and still saying they're lovely people, that's good. Yeah. So let me ask you, how has now the fact that you're not alone but with others all the time, how has that impacted on the relationship between the two of you?
So I think we, or me especially, have a tendency to be busy and just keep going without pausing and reflecting and catching up. So I think in a given week we maybe have 2 proper pauses and catch up after the day, rather than just finishing the day, having supper, sitting together, and then going to bed. So I think, yeah, it's, even though you're together as a family, it's still important to sort of take the time and sit down and catch up. And I think also the tendency is to think that because you're spending a lot more time together, so Sarah and I wouldn't normally spend so much time together because I'll be away and come back in the evenings. I think there's a tendency for me to feel like I know what's going on in her life, and rather than actually sitting down and actually finding out and not just observing what has been happening through the day. So that's actually been a challenge in a sense, because we've been seeing each other a lot more.
Sure, I think that's a very important point, that we see a lot of each other, and that's the case in many homes, but you don't necessarily know what's going on beneath the surface, because it is a stressful time with new challenges and new things we all face. Sure. Thank you for that. Then just a last question. Not just where you are, but this whole time of lockdown for the country and the stresses involved in that, how has this impacted on your relationship with God? Yeah, please.
For myself, I think it's been more challenging now. I'm used to, in the mornings, on the way to work, to listen to Albert Mohler, the briefing, or to listen to a sermon, and then to sort of follow it up on the way back, depending on if it's a 20-minute sermon or a 40-minute sermon. And I think I normally get a lot of encouragement and a lot of growth out of that through the week, which now is just sort of a blur from waking up, having breakfast, going to work, and coming back down and having supper. So it's, for me, it's been a bit of a challenge getting through this time, just because I don't have that quiet sort of disconnect from home life to work life, and having the encouragement in between.
So you're waking up in your work environment and you start the day. Sure, I think for people working from home, that could also be an issue. So it takes more discipline than just to say, hang on, I'm not going into the office. I'll stay in my room a bit longer, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, that's a challenge.
And I think, sorry, I think that the challenge there is also in that that time always belongs to someone else when you're sharing space with family or with your spouse. So I think that also makes that time difficult to take away. You're already working long hours, and then you're also taking extra time away from the family or from your spouse, or even if you are together, the one might be tired and the other one feels refreshed. I know that's a challenge we often have.
Okay, Sarah, anything from you?
Yeah, for me, it's actually been quite beneficial because I move around a heck of a lot and I tend to overthink. So it's been lovely for me to kind of wake up a little bit slower and actually have time to process my thoughts and relationship with God. So what's been particularly important for me at this stage is just being. That's something that I've always struggled with, and just being satisfied and being okay to be quiet. So that's a really important first step for me in building my relationship with God, because I always tend to think that I need to jump through hoops and you know, be involved and stuff. So it's been really good for me.
Well, good. So I want to thank you. I'm going to close there, but maybe just as a last, just before we close the Zoom, let us maybe I could just do a prayer for you guys, and yeah, let's just pray. So Lord, thank you that we could hear something from just Chad and Sarah and what they're going through in their lives. And I pray that as all of us are facing challenging times and lockdown and new challenges in our lives, that we could learn from this, from what they've shared with us. And I pray especially for them that where there's a lot of pressure, especially on the farm, that you would give them the strength. And all of us, Lord, that you would help us to be disciplined in taking that bit of time out, taking that separation between work and home, just to make sure that our relationship with you and with our loved ones remains up to date, and so that we can encourage each other and receive encouragement from you and learn from you and grow in our relationship with you. I pray that in Jesus' name. Amen. So thank you so much. And yeah, I don't know when we'll be able to Kuier again face to face, but I hope it isn't too long. Thanks. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.